The first thing I'm going to do is get my hominy ready. I use this frozen uncooked hominy because I was feeling fancy. And you just have to put it in some boiling water, bring the water back up to a boil, and let it cook on a simmer for about an hour and a half to 2 hours until it's puffed up and it feels al dente. I don't like it too mushy. All right, I strain it and get rid of all that hominy juice because I think hominy juice is just disgusting. It freaks me out for some reason. So I get rid of it and keep it in the strainer until I'm ready to use it later on. All right, let's make some red chili. So I'm going to use about 10 of these red chili pods. These are hot New Mexico chilies. I try and get as many of the seeds out as I can, but I don't worry about it too much. Just kind of pull the stems off and put them in a pot. So if you've never made your own red chili, I think this is the best way to do it. I'm going to fill the pot up with some water and then move it over to the counter and add some onions and garlic to it. This might not be the way your abuelita, your tia, your tío made it, but this is how I make it. So if this is how you make it, then don't make it this way. But for those of you who've never made red chili before, I think that this is a really good way to do it. So I'm just peeling some garlic and throwing it in the pot, along with about 1/4 of an onion. And then I'm going to move it over to the stove here in just a second and bring it up to a boil and let it simmer, I don't know, about 20 minutes. That's what I usually like to do. Okay, now for the meat. I've got about 1.5 pounds of pork shoulder, and I'm just going to spread that apart, make sure that it's all in bite-sized cubes. Add some salt and then mix the meat up really good. Make sure that the salt coats all of the meat. It feels very good to do this with your hands. And people out there who don't like me cooking with my bare hands, I promise you I won't invite you to eat at my house. But my hands are clean, I swear to God. Okay, so in batches, I'm going to add some olive oil to this pot. Get it up real high, and in batches I'm going to start browning this pork shoulder. Maybe not a necessary step, but I like to get a little crust on there to make the pork nice and tasty. Okay, I'm going to add the rest of the meat back in. Give the meat a little bit more salt. As we know, we like to build layers of flavor. I'm going to add 1 box of chicken stock to this. Kind of deglaze the bottom, stir up the meat a little bit. And after all this goes in, I'm going to add my cooked hominy to the pot. After the cooked hominy is in the pot, we're going to give that a little bit of a stir. And then add the second box of chicken stock. Okay, and now besides salt, I'm only going to add 2 spices to this. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of oregano, crushed up in my hand. This is good Mexican oregano, nice and strong. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cumin. And these are the only 2 spices I like in my posole. I know a lot of people out there don't like them, but it's my posole, you don't have to eat it. Okay, that chili's been cooking for about 20 minutes, so I'm going to grab my spider, take everything in there and put it into the blender. So I got, as you can see, some chunks of onion and pieces of garlic. That's going to make it super tasty. After we get everything out of the pot with the spider, we're going to use that chili cooking water to blend it up. Okay, most important thing, we're going to start this blender off slow so I don't have red chili flying all over my kitchen. That is not a good feeling. So I'm going to let it blend for a little while on low, move it up to medium, move it up to high. You get the idea. And I'm going to let this blend for at least a good minute because I want this, as much of that red chili peel to disintegrate into this mix. Now, I don't care if you have a Vitamix. I don't care what kind of blender you have. You need to strain this. Straining it, like for me in my cheap blender, is going to make sure that we get all the red chili peels out. But if you have one of those fancy blenders, just straining it is going to give it a really nice, even consistency. You're going to really like the texture of your red chili after you strain it. The narrative is going to sound different now because my mouth is watering. All right, now this thing, it needs a generous amount of salt, really. So we're going to put a lot of salt. I think I put about a good, couple of teaspoons in there. Going to mix it up. And then, of course, like any good culinary artist, I'm going to taste it, make sure that it tastes good. Oh, yes, delicious. Thank you very much. All right, now I'm just going to pour this red chili right into the Posole. What you didn't see me do off camera is I splashed that pan with a little bit of chicken stock to get all the chili out of it. Give it a good mix. And then I'm going to bring this up to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer. And that pork shoulder is going to want to cook for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours on a low simmer to make it nice and tender. And then there you are.